Detection Collaborative, a detection dog training trio with Stacy Barnett.
Hi.
Robin Greubel.
Hey there.
And Crystal Wing.
What's up?
With humor and a big dose of theory, our trio talks practical training advice and features interviews with top trainers and scientists.
It's Canine Detection Collaborative.
Hey everybody, it's Stacy Barnett from Canine Detection Collaborative, and welcome to part 2 of the interview with Denise Fenzi. Robin and Crystal have been having a really great conversation. Hopefully you've already listened to part 1. If you haven't, make sure you go back to our last episode and check out part 1 of the interview with Denise Fenzi. So let's go ahead and listen in on part 2.
Robin. I was letting you go because I have all kinds of things.
Well, and it's one of those things where I'm thinking about all of the bird dog stuff I've been doing and then all of the stuff with the scent work and going on and thinking about, I spend a lot of time on that train final response behavior because we need it for operational level work, right? But there is still a portion that ends up happening where the dog may not give you that operational level train final response. You need to be able to read everything before that. And so it's oh my gosh, this piece has to be perfect. And you train for perfection, knowing that occasionally there's those little hiccups in there. And as a trainer, you have to be fast-footed enough. I was listening to a book and they were talking about dancing and watching something happen and dancing. And that's really how I've started thinking about training. It's a give and take, moving with the dog, moving your body in such a way that how the dog responds to it. The intentional handling that we teach is like dancing with your dog. And I so totally agree with you on our job as trainers is to get the behavior and get it to fluency as quickly as we can.
And you know what you said about the train final alert? There are some behaviors that are kind of non-negotiable in terms of exceptional quality. And you're going to spend your life really emphasizing those. So then the question has to be, well, how many behaviors do you want to have that fall in the non-negotiable category? Like my whistle recall. I work on it obsessively. It's important. It's so important. So I'm constantly thinking about how I'm using it. Is it effective? And that's fine. That's good, right? Because it's so important. But if every single behavior you teach falls in the category of important, non-negotiable, you will not progress.
Correct.
You have to be able to give here and there and know what really, really matters.
Yeah. I have come down to the fact that for my odor work, don't leave odor is the thing that really, really matters to me. Some of the other stuff may not matter, but that one matters. Unless I tell you can do different. But yeah.
So within your training philosophy, then, that's something that I think it becomes a conversation a lot is, what about the have-tos? So how do you handle the have-tos when there aren't aversives on the table? How do you think about that?
That's such a hard question because I don't think in terms of have-tos. I just put so much time into want to. And I don't know, it's a little bit like taking me to an amazing restaurant when I'm hungry and then saying you have to eat. Like that's a weird thing to me to even suggest. But what happens if you don't want the steak? But I do want the steak. I love steak and I'm hungry. Yeah, but what if you're not? Well, frankly, maybe I'm sick. Maybe I shouldn't have to eat the steak if I'm sick. If my training is good, my want to is so good that have to almost becomes cruel. Like I've known dogs historically that nobody knew it, but they were sick. So they were working and they were sick. And whether you did a have to or want to model, I can tell you that when you found out the dog was sick, and sometimes sick like died, you feel pretty bad if you forced a have to on a dog that was sick. And I tend to look at my training as so hard on the want to side. My dog, there's nothing they'd rather do than train. And if I'm in a situation where it comes down to have to, then I have to ask myself, did I go wrong somewhere? And what can I do to bring that back in? I don't train any life or death events. my training is dog sports. It's not search and rescue. It's not police dog work. So I'll tell you this, I have no problem with e-collars on police dogs. If a dog is biting a human being, harming a human being, ripping them up, the number one prerogative is that you be able to get that dog off that person. To me, that falls in the realm of have to. Not because I care about the dogs have to, but because there's a person getting mauled. I don't train anything that is life and death. And so I don't really have to have this conversation with myself. And I think maybe some people in different sports doing different things, I understand that, but I'm not there. And I do meet people who on occasion, there's also the question of quality of life for the dog. And I do know people who choose training options that I don't use in my own world because they are trying to increase the dog's quality of life. And honestly, I have nothing to say about it. So old lady, big dog, can walk the dog on a prong safely, and the dog loves its walk. I have nothing to say about that. Big dog, walk the dog on a back clip harness, dog breaks lady's hip when pulls hard, right? So for my own world, it's not an issue. It doesn't come up. I have skills that can get the things I need, generally, even in life. And yet I look around me and sometimes I get used as a token of positive reinforcement. And this bothers me. So I'll give you an example. Somebody goes online, some group, and says, can bite sports be taught positively? Oh, yeah. And invariably, they tag Denise, they tag Shade, they tag Crystal, right? They tag Sarah. They're doing it. Okay. Sometimes that feels to me like telling a 10-year-old child who says, can I do a quadruple black flip? And they say, oh, yeah. And then they go and they tag some Olympic gymnast. Is it humanly possible? Yes. Are you likely to be able to do it right now, today, with the skills you have and the dog in front of you? Well, I don't know, maybe. How committed are you? Who's around you to help you? So I don't love this just because something is possible, we should all be doing it. I think that's sort of losing the forest for the trees. I do dog sports. I play in dog sports. I would really like other people who do dog sports and play in dog sports to just do their damnedest to make it worth it for their dog, and to learn how to make it a want to event, not a have to event. Because you can screw a dog up just fine doing have to, just like you can want to. If you don't know that, that's unfortunate, because many a dog in the process of getting the have to on the dog have ruined the dog. I mean, just ruined the dog because it didn't work out like that. It just ruined the dog. I don't want to go there. I don't want to be a part of that. But I think we need to differentiate life. We need to look at skill level. We need to look at dogs. We need to look at, is a sport? Is this important? Where are you going with this? For me, it's a game to stick in the want to category. And that game's a hard game sometimes. You know, I had dinner with Shade a couple nights ago, and as I cried into my beer over the challenges I have with my dog, we had this conversation. I was saying, what do I have to get the dog to go back to the object that means more than the decoy? And she said, you should never say that or think about that. You will never have something that is more valuable. And she's right. And I know that. The question is, how can I make this work out so that the dog develops a combination of habit and want to, and enough that the dog performs correctly, even though what I'm offering is less. And I know that because my whistle recall is calling the dog off the decoy, and nothing I have beats the decoy. And yet I have a very good whistle recall. So I have to remember that I don't have to have more than what's out there. I have to have a lot of want to, because I just don't use have to, or very rarely.
So this is kind of two parts to that in my brain, because in the search and rescue world, we would say that we have to have our dog have a very reliable trained final response to tell us that they have found what they have found. But what I'm hearing is even there, the mindset could be different. Even though it's life or death in that scenario, it still could be the mindset of, I so desperately want to do that thing because that's what I've been trained, and that's the joy of that this brings. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be fill in the blank.
I think you're right. And those people who spend the appropriate amount of time on that train final response. I mean, I think of our FEMA level dog. We spend lots and lots of repetitions, and the wilderness dogs, they have to have a lot of want to. And if they don't have a lot of want to, they're not the right dog for the job.
Yeah. And that's the difference there.
Right.
But that's huge. So when you're talking about real world work, I love seeing everybody with every dog doing dog things, but I don't want to see everybody doing real work with you. If you're doing real work, pick a dog that is excellent for that work. Because if anybody thinks that you can just put have to on a dog, I'm going to tell you a little story. I used to use e-collars. I had a dog with an excellent e-collar recall most of the time. And then I didn't know I didn't have 100% until the day he got hit by a car. I called him. He did not come. He was chasing a fox. He did not die. That's the good news. But I still brought my dog to the vet to get Humpty Dumpty put back together again, wearing his e-collar. So when people get into the have to, you still have to understand that you never control another 100%. It is just not possible. So you can have all that have to, want to conversation. At the end of the day, the question is, what do you actually have? What percentages do you have? Nobody gets 100%. You might get it on one dog. You might get it for a period of time, but there's no such thing as 100%. The question's really, what can you do within the training you have to get you as close as possible? So when I said I'm okay with the e-collar on the police dog, I am. And I also know that there are cases where dogs got a hold of somebody and they were e-collaring up, down, around center, and the dog still was not coming off.
Right.
They're not coming off the bite. So then the question is, did you pick the right dog for the job with the right training? Should that dog have even been in that scenario? And that's no joke. Sending a dog to live bite, there's a lot that goes into that. There's an emotional reality that's very hard for, I think, even humans to understand what the dog is experiencing in that moment. So there's a lot of conversation around that, a lot of complexity, but I'm not suggesting that putting an e-collar gave you a guarantee. I am saying it may be one more level with the right kind of dog. What kind of dog did you select for? And there are too many folks out there who really think that just get the dog as crazy high as possible and you'll just correct it off. But I don't know. There's a lot of people
It doesn't work that way.
It does not. I mean, because if it did work that way, then after you taught it, you would never have to use your e-collar again because you taught it, right? So then why did you just have to use that for that out? Did your out not? Wait, I thought the e-collar gave you a guarantee. Oh, it didn't give you a guarantee. So, I mean, we all need to be very aware of what is realistic. And I am the first one to tell people, I am so hard down on that genetic side. I can't even tell you. I've seen too much over time that convinces me that genetic realities are huge. They're huge. Get the right dog for the right job and then apply the right training to that dog. If you are hell-bent and committed on your methods, however, whatever that looks like, get the right dog. So you can either be a trainer who adapts to the dog, or you can be a trainer who's just got one way and then get the right dog for the job. And just let's make everybody happier that way. Don't try to stick the little square dog into a round hole, right? I actually enjoy variety in my dogs, but I am still a positive reinforcement-based trainer. So I want to have dogs that are going to thrive under my system. Sadly, the one I got maybe is not the perfect dog for that because he does lack that playful. He's too serious, really. He's got the drives I want, but if it had the drives and more play, but nobody gets exactly what they want. That's not realistic. You just need close enough. But I actually kind of enjoy tweaking around. But one thing that is kind of non-negotiable for me, I really do plan on doing dog sports without aversive tools because that is why I'm in it. That's what I find interesting. And I like to have a little bit of challenge, but I do want to start with a dog. Like, I don't want to be building drive anymore. I have done that. My first, what's now called IGP dog, first dog I got, IGP 3 is the equivalent. I've never worked so damn hard in my life, and I never want to work that hard again. He was a show dog. He was show bred. He was a nice dog. He had some decent drive, but he did not have what my dogs have today. He was not bred for this sport. And I had to work so hard. I'm so glad I went through the experience. I bow down to those who do it around me. I'm so impressed. And thank you very much. I don't want to do that myself anymore. I don't want to build dogs up like that. It's a lot of work. So I know that about myself. So I try to pick for dogs that bring that to the table, bring the desire to the table, and then let me work on capping that and controlling that and shaping. That's what I want to do. So figure out what you like and try to find the right dog for that.
So Stacy asked a question in our little chat here, and she said, what do you suggest for people that have the dog already that struggle and they're not bred for it?
Okay, well, let's just talk about rehoming. First of all, I have no problem with people rehoming dogs. My rule is, or my line in the sand has always been, put the dog in a home which is as good as or better than what you provide. I think dogs can be perfectly happy to move to a new home. However, that doesn't mean just willy-nilly dogs out the door, right? Because I hope you love your dogs. Like, I hope you're attached to your dog and you don't want that to happen. You have to have some flexibility in your training, but it absolutely happens that people get to a point where they're looking at the situation and they're not having fun anymore. And then I think you have to make choices. So I had a dog named Lyra. Lyra was a lovely pet dog. And finally got to the point where I realized I genuinely did not enjoy training her. She had some quirks that I found very frustrating. Like, so for example, you'd be working her and she'd be like, oh, hi, friend. And she was perfectly happy to leave training to go socialize. She just really loved people. She loved exploring. She liked working well enough. But I had to work very hard to make training work for her. And I found that frustrating. I want a dog that when I say, do you want to work, goes out the window to get to the training yard. And she did not have that. She's like, okay, but there was no push, no drive. I was not going to rehome her. She was a lovely pet. There was no reason to rehome her. She was a good pet. She fit in my family, so no problem. But some people are in circumstances where that's not going to work. Maybe they can only have so many dogs. Maybe it's a working dog and, a police dog. They have to have the dog, or a service dog. You bought a service dog to help you live your life. The dog you got is not going to do the job. If you are emotionally capable of placing the dog, I think that can really be the right answer. I personally will not live in a crate and rotate situation. I just will not live that way. It's too hard on me in my life. I know people who do it successfully, but most people I know who do it say, I will never do this again. And so I'm like, I'm not going to. If I do plan on getting a new dog in the near future, it comes to pass that there's severe conflict. I don't mean minor, let's work it out. If there is severe conflict where it would be crate or rotate, I will place the new dog. It's just, I won't give up my quality of life because I frankly believe that it's more harmful to the dog to live in a crate and rotate situation when there is a good option available. Frankly, some dogs are so impossible that there is no alternative. But it comes down to, I can keep this dog in a crate rotate situation, or I can euthanize, because some dogs are just kind of horrific. Their problems are huge, their behavior cases. So then you say, well, you either keep the really problematic dog and you place the reasonable one, or maybe all you have is problem dogs. Some people, that's what they've got. And then those are really hard choices to make. But I support people kind of regardless. You pick, you make your choice, and I'll be there for you. But I do think that the mental model of this dog is going to go to a home which is as good as what I provide or better is very helpful. Because then when you're feeling sad and that dog is now out living the life, whatever that means for that dog, rather than I'm keeping the dog out of guilt, or I'm keeping the dog because what people will say, or whatever reasons people keep dogs that are just a poor match.
At one point, I had 8 dogs in my kennel. I'm now down to 4 working dogs. And so I've had to rehome or sell some dogs. And even if I sell a dog that I have trained, I'm still picky about where it goes. And it's one of those things that I have to make decisions because I'm running a breeding program of, if you can't be in my kennel and work and be part of the breeding program, I don't have room. Now, I do have retired dogs before people throw rocks and stuff at me. I do have retired dogs that have earned their place in my house, and they are here. And I wish that we could really get people to understand. I mean, whether it's sport or it's working dog world, there's a certain level of dog that you have to have in order to do at a really upper high level. And if you're some dogs, we see them, they come to training. They really want to be couch potato dogs. They want to sit with you on the couch and eat potato chips and watch Yellowstone or whatever, Harry Potter or whatever. They don't want to be going out to do all of the things. And those dogs are just as valuable, actually, in my opinion, as the high caliber dog that I have that does jump out of the window to go to the training building.
And, really those dogs, when you rehome them, talk about a win-win-win. Okay. You removed the dog from your circumstance. So your life just got easier. You put the dog with a human being who's now ecstatic because they now have a dog who meets their need to sit on the couch with a buddy. That's a winning situation. And the dog is doing what it loves. And I know we get a lot of moral, what kind of human being doesn't love their dog enough to keep it? But what my personal experience is when people keep dogs under that umbrella, when the reason they keep a dog is public, how it appears, my experience is that those dogs do not have high quality of life. They often end up crated, extensively because they're not really working out. And I don't think anybody's benefiting. And, you can say, well, they're a good person. They kept the dog. But I don't see it that way. I think what we did is to virtue signal to the world that I'm a good person and keeps all my dogs. I don't see who's benefiting from that setup. I mean, what more could you ask than to put your dog who doesn't want to work into a home with somebody who just wants a buddy, a running buddy, or the really difficult situation?
And if you really want to do this thing, then I got a couple of dogs from the shelter that could do search and rescue work. The day I found those dogs, I should have gone and bought a lottery ticket because they're jackpot dogs. And it's one of those things, if you want to do something at a high caliber way, go get a purpose-bred dog.
And even then, it's a crapshoot.
It's always a crap.
I mean, because look at Nakota. I mean, I got Nakota as the pick of the litter, and he is my dad's bro dog, and he was the first dog I've ever rehomed, and they are living the life. Like he bought my dog. I still say my. He bought Nakota a golf cart that he could ride around in. I mean, they're just the best relationship I've ever seen. It's the best fit that could possibly ever happen. So yeah, woohoo.
Yeah, exactly. Yikes.
So Stacy asked a question, which also gets into another aspect that I'd like to talk to you, Denise, about is your kind of social media, public education persona. Her question was about how we work to change people's perception about rehoming specifically, but it could be really as an educator on social media. Would you like to share some insights about that role? Because not many people are out there doing it. How did you get into that? Why did you do it? What are you doing?
Well, ain't that a good question? I don't actually know how I ended up where I am now. I remember I'd never heard the word influencer until a couple of years ago. And it came because I pissed somebody off and they said, you're an influencer, so you have to behave right, something like that. And I didn't know what that was. So I actually looked it up. I tend to be oblivious to a lot of things because I have no concept of pop culture and all. I just do what I do. I do my thing and I'm oblivious to what's going on out there. So I looked that up and I'm like, no, not really. I don't think that's me. But anyway, so now I would say, yes, I am influential. I don't think of myself an influencer in the sense that make money on it, but I am influential. And so here's a bunch of things I'm going to say. First of all, the loudest voice in the room rarely represents the room. So we do have some very loud voices in the dog world. They are all over and they are loud and often they're quite ugly and irrational voices. Do not ever think that loud means representative. What it means is others get quiet because they think they're the outlier. Now, I spent a lot of time talking to random people. There's nothing that makes me happier than to contact a local dog trainer and say, you want to have lunch? Because I'd like to talk to you about what's going on in the dog world. And then I go meet some person I don't know from a hot rock and I listen to them talk about what their life looks like. What's going on out there? What are they seeing? How do they perceive social media? And I'm telling you, without exception, they're perfectly normal, rational people. Now, if you used social media as your barometer of what normal people in the dog world look like, you would get an incredibly skewed view. When you talk to people one-on-one, they do tend to have their heads screwed on reasonably straight, but they don't say much on social media. They're quiet. They're busy training dogs. So the folks who are really loud on social media, and I swear to God, every comment they comment, I think they have to be only kind of moderately employed, because anybody who has that much time to sit there yelling, they got no job, they got no work. So that's one thing I would say is don't let social media's voice imply that it is the representation. And I think around rehoming, if you talk to people one-on-one, I think you would find that the vast majority of people recognize the value of rehoming to the dog and to the people and the situation. It's the social media, whatever you call that, that creates the impression that you can't rehome a dog. So I think that's important, because I often say things that are kind of verging on heresy in the dog world, because I speak what I think is my truth. So I'm pretty comfortable speaking my truth. And then, of course, people yell, but I can tell you a lot more people say it's about time someone said that. There's an elephant in the room, than yell. And so that's been actually really interesting for me to observe, that just because you're in a space where it appears that such and such is the common wisdom, the common belief, very often it is not. So differentiating, it's the same as when somebody shows, multiple amazing 4-second clips of dogs. Guys, just remember that was a 4-second clip. You can take the worst dog in the world, make it look amazing. Social media is not only a commercial, not only is it about highlighting your best parts. You don't usually talk about what's going wrong. I do, but most people don't. But it also makes the loudest voice appear to be dominant. Both of those things are simply not true. In my experience, the middle position, the rational, thoughtful position is the norm. So I put numbers to this. I find that 90%, I mean it, like 90% of people are normal and 10% are different. The 10% tend to have extreme views. And what you'll notice is if a person is extreme about one view, they'll tend to be extreme about many views. And that's where the face of drama comes. When I observe drama in the dog world, it's the same noise, the same people, no matter what the topic is. Like it can almost be tangential to dogs. And that has to start telling you something. That's about the temperament of the people involved in the drama. It's not about the topic at hand. And they do tend to take the more extreme judgmental view. So judgmental is whatever appears to make you look like the most amazing human being. The judgmental view is the one, when a dog comes in my house, I love it no matter what. I find exactly the sport the dog wants. I twist my entire life around Fifi, and everyone should think like me. Once you get that kind of a way of presenting oneself, you will discover that that same person has that same judgmental look towards everything. It doesn't actually matter. That ties into my next thing that I learned, which frankly would have added 5 years to my life if I had learned it earlier. There are a percentage of people in this world who listen to misunderstand. So whatever you say, you can speak for 5 minutes. They will pull something out, take it out of context, twist it just a tiny bit, and run there. And you'll be like, wait, no, I didn't say that. Next thing you know, you're on the defensive and you don't even know how you got there. The conversation was never about that. Now, the people who are exceptionally good at this will then take your defensive response and twist that around and run in a new direction. Now, you've done this 3 times and nobody can even figure out what the original conversation was. All they know is that you seem very tense, agitated, whatever. I don't play that game anymore. I just don't. So if we're involved in a conversation, you are allowed to misunderstand 1 time. I will then very clearly and very directly fix that misunderstanding. If you then choose to misunderstand again, I will tell you, you are listening to misunderstand and this conversation is over and I will no longer respond to you. And I don't, I move on. I might block, it depends. I don't block much, but I will if I have to. But I have never seen one of those people who listen, because by virtue of listening to misunderstand and running a very emotional conversation, there's never a way for that conversation to end the way the rational person thinks it will. See, I used to think if I was just a little more clear and a little more rational, they would see my view. But now I understand that they will do everything in their power not to see my view because it's not about the topic. It's about their emotional reaction to me and whatever it is in their head, whatever it is. once I stopped playing those games, my life got really, really peaceful. Like the drama has just dropped dramatically. Now, when there's drama and it has my name on it and people bring me to me, I say, no, do not bring that to me. I am not interested in that conversation. I do not want to know what they said. I do not want to know where you heard it. I don't even want you to describe it to me. It's not important. It's not about me. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with them and what they want to believe. And damn, the last time this happened, the first few times I got hit hard on social media, I literally stopped eating. I couldn't eat for days. I mean, we're talking like sitting in a corner, hysterical, like just losing it. And now I eat my breakfast, I eat my lunch, and I eat my dinner. It's just like, oh yeah, they're all out there kind of like eating each other. Not my problem, not my issue. And the only thing I will say is I'm very sad that I feel like I have a very clear understanding of people now. And that actually makes me sad because what I've learned is that there's a lot of suffering out there and a lot of unhappiness. And those qualities can make people really horrible to be around. And that's just sad to realize that there's a percentage of people in the world who are really in a bad place. And they are so destructive. It's not just to me. I watch it around me and it's heartbreaking to see how they will just rip somebody apart. And it's so hard for me to understand that because there's no part of me that wants to hurt another person. Even people I don't particularly like, I don't want to hurt them.
Right.
I just don't want to have problems with them, but I don't want them to suffer and I don't want to be a part of that. And some people, clearly that is their emotional world, is to be harmful, really, really harmful. That makes them feel alive or something. And so I don't like my I lost my Pollyanna edge, and that's sad because I think being Pollyanna is it's a wonderful thing. But I'm safer now. And that means I say and do what I want to say and do. And I allow it to happen around me and I don't really worry too much. I accept it. They're out there. They're doing it. It's okay. It's not about me. It's about them.
And so that brings up two topics for me is boundaries and leadership there. So how are you successfully setting those boundaries? And then I love your angle on leadership. And I think it ties in really well to that. And this is for human and dog. I mean, it's both.
So to me, boundaries is something I wish people understood is that you can say anything you want. You don't have to be unkind. I can say anything that needs to be said. Not everything needs to be said. Anything that needs to be said, I can say it in a way which is perfectly kind. Now, what you do with that is not about me, but I can put it out there in a way which is absolutely acceptable. And that's how I set boundaries. I'm really, really honest. Really honest. I just tell people, the way you just said that, I found that really hurtful. Here is why. Here's the part that upset me. Here's what I think you were trying to imply. Here's how I kind of felt about it and how I think you wanted me to feel. Boy, that's just direct and clear. And now it's up to them what they're going to do with that information. But that to me is how you set boundaries. If they do it again, then I find it stressful to read your responses. I feel like you don't listen. And so I am going to block you now, not because I'm not angry with you, but to protect myself. I need to block you because this is hard on me to see this going on around me. Boom, done, move on. And that's it. That's boundary setting. And I am super open and honest about it. I put up with a lot, but I do. But
there's been times where I'm like, Denise, just block him or her or whatever.
Wow.
You just kept taking it.
I try to model for other people to learn from, and I know this works because they tell me it does. I try to model how to interact with difficult people. You stay level-headed and clear. You call them on it if you want to. You can just say, it seems to me you're just getting very angry about this topic. And then that suggests it's time to move on. Say what you want to say, be clear in your responses. And also remember that you're not usually talking to the individual you're talking to. On social media, you're actually talking to the people reading the conversation. They are the people you're influencing, not the individual who's being a fool. That person is just there. And they're just serving a purpose of allowing you to say what you want to say. And they're also admittedly getting their point of view across too. And that's fine because there can be multiple perspectives on a topic. And that's fine. About leadership, I will say that I don't think you can take a leadership position in any industry if you are not willing to say things that are unpopular. I think you can be good at your job. I think you can be impactful. But if you want to educate, you need to speak your truth the way it is and stop worrying so much about what somebody's going to think about it when they hear it. By definition to me, leadership is setting a path. And that generally doesn't mean status quo. It doesn't mean reinforcing what everybody already thinks, believes, feels, whatever. And if I feel strongly about positive reinforcement training, but that doesn't mean that I think people who use tools are bad people, poor trainers, abusive. I mean, some of the stuff people say, I don't believe any of that. And I actually think it's important if you're in a leadership position to be clear about that. I make these choices. This is why I make the choices I make. You make those choices. This is why I disagree. And it's okay. To me, that is leadership. It's clarity. You're clear about what you think. And if your position resonates and is not emotional and is rational and takes the perspective of those who might choose to follow you, like you have to see their point of view. Then people go, you make sense to me. You represent my position. And that is what a follower is. A person who thinks that more often than not, you represent their position, even if they're not willing to say it out loud because they're afraid. That is leadership. I know some people who are exceptionally good trainers. They do some pretty cool stuff. And I don't know if they're even interested in it. I don't think they can ever take a leadership position because they lack courage and they cannot say what they want to say because they're afraid of what might come back at you. That just isn't going to work. You have to be able to say what you want to say thoughtfully. You have to be willing to hear difference of opinion. You have to be able to change your mind and be okay with that if somebody's really coming in from a different angle. But if you don't change your mind, even if you're against the tide, you need to be able to hold that spot. And people agree, they don't agree, that should be okay.
So you really have to be vulnerable to do all of that, though.
Yeah, but if you really believe in yourself and you believe that you have some kind of sense and a compass, I tell people, find your compass and stick to it. But that doesn't mean not change your mind when you're wrong. But generally, wrong doesn't happen the next day. Like there might be some training thing I did or whatever, and I argued with somebody, held my line, and 2 years later, I realized they were right. Well, 2 years is a long time, but often it takes a long time before you have the dog that makes you realize you were wrong. And I don't feel like I need to make a big production of it. If I know the person, I remember the conversation, sometimes I will actually reach out and just say, hey, I just want to tell you something. So you remember that?
I mean, when you warned me about that thing.
Really important. Yeah. That thing.
You're actually right about that one. And I will talk about those things publicly over time, but it's not usually the next day. If I feel strongly about something, there's a reason. So it's not likely that something you say, a one-off, is going to turn me 180 degrees. But sometimes it starts the seeds, which is actually how I interact with people anyway. So you believe what you believe, I believe what I believe. And maybe I say something that starts a seed of thought. And maybe 2 years from now, you'll send me a note and you'll say, you were right. I don't know. Could happen. With dogs, I know we talk about leadership with dogs.
My favorite webinar, I think, is your leadership webinar. I really, really like that one.
That's actually my favorite too. And yet,
really?
Yeah, most people aren't that interested in it.
Oh man, it's gold. It's total gold.
In the dog world, it's not popular. In the more positive reinforcement side, we don't like the words leadership.
You've already used balance. You're a balanced thinker. So why not go for it?
Yeah. I really I have often called myself a benevolent dictator. And I try to be very, very kind with my dogs, but somebody has to set the direction of travel. That's what I believe. And I think the vast majority of dogs are happy to let the human set the direction of travel because it comes with a lot of responsibility. So my dogs have a lot of choice in their lives. And the way I look at it, if there's no wrong choice, go to town, buddy, do what you want. During the day in my house, do whatever you want. I have adult dogs, right? But when I bring in a new puppy, if I let you go to town in my house, the problem is there are bad choices. There are good choices, but there's also eating my couch. That's a bad choice. Whenever a bad choice is possible, choice is off the table. I incorporate structure. So structure and choice are the two options at any moment. If I think there's a bad choice possible, then we will structure it. You will have a baby gate across the room and there's no couch in here to eat. Now, within those parameters, you have all the choice in the world. You got all the toys you want. You got things to do. You can come in, you can go out, you can play with my other dogs, but you can't eat my couch. And then when you get to the age when eating the couch isn't really in your mental model, you have full choice in my house until a guest comes to the door. And I look at a dog like Zen. Now I love him to bits, but you know what? Sometimes I think he could make a bad choice when somebody comes in the house. So then what? Well, I don't sit around saying, well, let's find out what happens. Off you go to the crate, right? And then when I know the person's in the house and I have no concerns, he can come back out because once again, no bad choice is possible. To me, that's what leadership is about. It's on a moment by moment basis deciding, do you have choice or do you have structure? You always have choice if no bad choice can result. Otherwise, you have structure and it's not a bad thing. It's not about, no, the dog didn't get enough sniffing or whatever. If I let my dog walk around and he's leading a direction and there's a dog screaming behind a fence and the fence is half broken, we're not going that way, even if you want to. So that to me is what leadership is about. It's stepping up and saying to a kid, you can't have the ice cream now because we're having dinner in an hour. Not because you're a mean person and you don't want them to eat ice cream, because you thought about it. And you said, that's not a good choice. This is not going to be a good choice right now. And with our dogs, that's how I tend to think about it. And I also incorporate the well-being of others. So while my dog might be the nicest dog in the world, if the person coming in the house is 90 years old and frail, then it doesn't actually matter if my dog would make good choices. The person coming in the house has rights. So then I think in terms of rights and responsibilities, I do not ask my dog to be responsible. I am responsible because other people have rights. My family has rights. I have rights. If my dog had it his way, I would be 12 hours a day, walking, petting, grooming, training, but that's not going to be that way. And I don't feel bad about that. You have enough. I have enough. My family has enough. Society gets it. We all going to give a little. We're all going to get a little. To me, that's kind of impactful leadership. And I think it's not too hard to explain it to people.
You're talking and going through all of this. And I just had it's one of those, oh my gosh, let's talk about this whole conversation around leadership. Also, for me, is about parallel to getting the dog to opt in, right? Let's talk about a dog that I want to have them opt in to do this thing with me today. And for me, that goes back to right dog, right job. If I have to worry about the dog always opting in, I can't do what I want to do. That's why I go out and get a dog that I have to worry about teaching them to turn off. And so I think that I understand that some people absolutely have dogs that they want to see if they want to opt in. Are you playing the right game for your dog then?
Better. I swear to God, I'm turning my head left, right. I'm like a dog trying to find like what works, what works, what works. Hopefully we're okay. So with my young dogs, I do really want them to see the world. And that can be the kind of turn off time, because I have had dogs in the past that worked so much, they never did see the world. And when they looked at it, they got scared. Like they missed their socialization because they were always working and looking at me. And I still struggle a bit with the balance between making sure they see the world and making sure that they use me frequently as a reference as can we work now. I think I let Zen have too much freedom for too long, but he was a, big, heavy, floppy boy, slow to grow up. So maybe I was okay. And now I added we work in more environments. I guess I like to think in terms of setting up environments where I want to work, where it's extremely likely that the dog is going to choose me. And that does get to the idea of the right dog, because I'm not going to bring him to the middle of the sheep field when he's 6 months old and hope for whatever, right?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
No, that does not work. But I am going to, especially in my front yard where I'm teaching lots and lots of introductory skills. One thing I will do differently with the next dog, I am going to try to generalize those skills I teach in my front yard a lot earlier to new locations. So I'm still going to give them 10 minutes to wander around, pee on trees, whatever dogs do. But I'm going to try to find environment where, with the combination of food I have, the skills on board, the dog, that I can get work away from home that I get at home earlier. I think I waited maybe a little too long with this dog. I mean, I did take him out. It's not that I didn't take him out, but I think maybe I went a little too heavy on the socialization side this time with a dog who's very environmentally stable and curious. So if he had been less stable, I would say I made the right choice. But he was already pretty stable. I think now I would have worked harder at getting more work in new environment. So again, new dog comes, we see what I have, but I do think I would like to get a little more generalization earlier, maybe. I say maybe because then the dog comes and you're like, well, no,
Different dog.
This dog has issues. Yeah, that's the problem. Just when you think you learned something useful, the next dog is different.
Yeah. After Quinn, I thought that, man, I was like, I'm going to do all these things. And oh my gosh, I've never had a dog like Quinn. And so nothing that I ever planned will ever be what I wanted to be.
So before I got Zen, I remember I had a dog named Kisu, who was quite a good dog. And she had arousal issues and obedience. And I calculated all the ways I caused them. And I just remember thinking, I wish I could do it over. I wish I could do it over. But now that I have Zen, and I think I did it way better, and he has arousal issues times 5 compared to her. Now I'm like, no, I don't wish I could do it over. I probably would have screwed it up anyway. I'm just going to start with a new dog. And
Right.
Just try with the one I got in front of me right now, because I got what I got. And what might have worked with him may have worked with her, may not have worked with her. Just hope that I kind of hit the right recipe. And my God, keep some humility about it. Because every time I think I got it, the next dog just takes me out at the knees. I'm like, damn.
I will say I like the generalize in different locations thing. I've done that especially with Radish, and I've seen the difference that made of just straight away when she was a young pup, just out doing the same things, because when they're that sponge age and they're environmentally sound, like you said, they don't have the quirks and the issues. I've really liked what I've seen of just being able to go lots of places with her and just go to work right away there. So that's something I want to keep doing.
I want to go just a bit past the cute puppy phase.
Yeah.
So I don't want the problem with a 2-month-old puppy. They're very, very cute. By the time they're about 4 months old, they're not so cute. They tend to be sort of wild and
teenager-ish.
Right.
Yeah. And at that point, people don't mob you. So by 4 months is when I want to get out, when people are likely to stay away because they're not so cute anymore.
And picking all the right spots.
With that.
Yeah. I feel like so much of puppy research is finding all those places that I want to go train. Like I actively go out and start hunting for those like tucked away places that are still good social areas, but people aren't going to mug you. You just have less likelihood of those kinds of things. That's such a big thing in my puppy protocol.
And finding the places where it's just the right level of distraction that the dog can handle.
Yeah. And
we can still be successful. And I'm going to teach you to be 10 foot tall and bulletproof, but not get overwhelmed. Not walking into Lowe's next to all the blowing Halloween stuff.
Yeah, I watched all the videos, and this is where the dog puts their head in the box, you throw food in the box, and then you add small distractions and the dog throws their head in the box. Do you know what I'm talking about? Pat Stewart, Bart Bolan type stuff. Looking at that and thinking next dog is going to be a border collie, they tend to be more sensitive. Like Zen, there'd be no reason to do that. Nothing bothers him. But a border collie, they're a little sensitive, and I think I'm going to try it. I like the concept, and I like that you can generalize that box, taking it new places. So that might be something I explore that I've never done. But I thought that looked interesting and different and good. I also think I'm going to reduce the amount of public socialization. So more in my car. So watching from the open back of my car, or put the dog in the back seat, watching the dog park from not even getting out of the car. You watch the dogs don't have to watch you. Go to Tractor Supply, leave the dog loose in the car while I go inside. Things like that. I want the dog to see more, but have less interaction with public. So I want to explore that. I have a theory, and I have nothing to support it except my hunch. I think we're over socializing dogs, and I think it's causing a lot of problems. I think we're creating reactivity by having too much dog socialization to dogs. I think we're creating hypergreeters by having too much human socializing. I just think we're pushing them too hard when they're babies. And I'm going to try really backing off on that I can walk all over my ranch, practicing box feeding, practicing my skills, lots of different environments, none of which require people or dog interaction. So we'll see.
I strongly believe, and I have a lot of people who look at me kind of funny. I'm like, I would really, really like my dogs to be indifferent to most of the rest of humankind.
Absolutely.
I don't care if my labs don't want to come up and jump on you. I'm perfectly okay that my 5-month-old puppy, when we walked into the hardware store, would go up, nose bop somebody because I asked her to. And then she comes back and sits in front of me and says, well, what are we going to do now? You know what? That was a win for me that day. I do not need to worry about my puppy jumping all over everybody else. So yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I do wonder if the emphasis on socialization, especially as interaction, but even just as exposure, I wonder if we create nervous behavior. Because you're talking about a 4-month-old puppy or a 3-month or whatever, and you take it to Lowe's and everything is blowing. Anything short of the dog being like, this is awesome, like any unsureness that doesn't resolve quickly, it's like, do we want the dog every time it goes in public to be wondering if it's going to be a lot to handle? Like, especially when they're just little babies, and the puppy that I'm getting is not being raised with puppy culture and all that. It's just being raised. It's a farm style trial border collie. And that I find it extremely unlikely that she's going to be doing all that stuff. And actually, there's a part of my brain that's happy about it. It's like, you're going to spend the first 8 weeks of your life nice and secure with your mommy and your litter mate and the lady who's raising you and her children. And there'll be some other dogs around and you're going to kind of be on a farm. And I'm totally okay with it if those dogs never go to town or anything. It's like, just get a really good, secure base to start from. And then I'll make sure a few times a week I take you out in the car. But I am definitely going to scale back.
And what about genetics there?
Well, that's, believe me, those are the questions I ask.
Yeah. I mean, when you have those solid, sound genetics, that gets you a long way right there.
Yep. And those are trial dogs, both the mother and the father, very successful trial dogs, travel well. They go in these trucks, and they travel multi-states to go to new trial events and they function, and nobody coddled them. Nobody tried to make, they probably live in a kennel. I don't know for sure. And they're okay. So give me those solid genetics. I do these polls on Instagram. Some of them are pretty big. Some are well over 1,000. Most of them are well over 1,000 participants. And I asked about socialization and reactivity. And the questions were basically along the lines of, is your dog reactive? And how did you socialize your dog? And then the choices were every day, a couple times a week, everyone, and then never, basically. And then I asked the second question, if your dog is not reactive, and I asked the same question. And the reality is nothing mattered. It did not matter. The percentages of reactivity were pretty much identical if you made it your life's work to socialize, or if you never took your dog off the damn property. And it was like, okay, I know who does this poll represent? Denise's followers. But you know what? Who are Denise's followers? People like me. People who are like into dogs and know a lot of stuff. And I really think maybe we inadvertently, make some issues. And I'm like, yeah. And the other thing, oh my God, I did a poll on doggy daycare. The rate of reactivity among my followers of people doing doggy daycare was through the roof compared to people who did not. It was shocking. I mean, people who are interested in my polls can go to my Instagram and I have a highlight up so you can just go through them. They're fascinating. But that one will make your eyes pop out because it's like, holy shit, do not do daycare with your puppy. Do not do daycare with your puppy. It's like a recipe for having problems later on. It's amazing.
It's like Fight Club for puppies. Is that and doggy daycare?
Apparently it is.
Yeah, it's dog parks and doggy daycare is Fight Club for puppies. So let's teach your dog how to be a bully. There you go.
One of the last questions I wanted to ask Denise, because I know we're running out of time. What's next for you? Your projects, your ideas, what are you excited about? You're talking about border collies, so tell us, what's up?
I think I would like to, Zen, I love him to bits, but he's really good for one thing. He's good for biting things. He is a protection dog. That's what he does. I would like to do as much Mondio as he can do successfully. And then I think I would like to go over to French ring and do as much French ring as he can do successfully. And if he's not on his grave at that point, not injured, then maybe I'll go over to IGP and see. So that's his life. I don't see him doing other sports. With the border collie, I really need a good border collie. When you're trying to round up the damn sheep and the weather's terrible, you start looking around going, where's the border collie, So I need and I'm picked specifically for a line of dogs that successfully navigate cows and sheep. I want a dog that's just a solid all-purpose ranch dog I also really am intrigued by the sport. So I'm going to give it my best shot, work with a professional trainer. Well, I'm going to say in the area, but not exactly. But anyway, with a professional trainer and see about learning about herding at a higher level. And what can I learn there? That really intrigues me. So I think that's where I'm at for dog stuff, and continue to develop the ranch, the FDSA ranch in California. I am loving what's happening here. I'm loving the community that's developing. I'm loving how people stay and have breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Or a month later.
And this weekend,
Yeah.
every location on the property was filled. And that was really fun for me, that we had a community. I think community is a great and important thing. So I will continue to sort of try to develop the community around me. So that's what I'm up to.
So people want to learn more about you. They want to learn more about this. You said you have some sort of school or academy or something.
I don't know.
What's that thing you did?
That weird thing. Yeah.
Oh, it's Fenzi. Let me think here. Fenzi Dog Sports University.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Something. I don't know.
School I run, teach workshops like I'm teaching healing games now. I teach webinars. I hire exceptionally talented people to teach all kinds of things for me, like webinars and workshops and classes. Can't think of any names off the top of my head, but pretty cool people work for the school. So I do that. I'm super active on social media. I'm super interactive and engaging. If you send me a note, I'll respond. I'm happy to hear from people. Love to have people follow me. Do a weekly podcast with Jerry Saylor, who's just brilliant and funny and fun.
You guys are awesome.
She's so fun. On Instagram, we do that at 4. I do have Fenzi Food for Thought, which is my own podcast, where I usually babble all by myself for a really long time. It's actually amazing. I can go on for like an hour.
What? Nobody could tell that.
It's amazing,
right?
You give me a prompt and away I go. So you can listen to me there. I'd love to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, say hi, comment, ask me questions, challenge me. I'm totally good with all that.
There's this high drive dog thing I heard about too.
Oh yeah, that's if you're already a trainer. So you're pretty capable, like how things get done, and you want to see how I raised Zen from the day I got him. I do usually a 4 or 5 minute video where I collapse it down to one thing I focused on. I spent a lot of time there showing the things I did wrong. I emphasize my errors so you can learn from them. I talk through my challenges, the days I cry in my beer. I usually talk about that. It's a really good opportunity for a person, especially in the biting sports, who's like super curious, wants to make it happen, going to do a lot of training alone. You'll up your game, but it's not an introductory program. And it's cheap. I think it's $10 a month. Happy to have you follow along. For me, it's a record of training my dog. So I value it for that for myself. It keeps me accountable. I have to videotape my sessions. Sometimes I have to see things I would have rather not seen, but since I have to video anyway, it's like, wait, did that dog really just travel 4 feet on that downstay? So it does keep me on the straight and narrow. So happy to have people join that program or follow me or whatever. Come on out, visit me. Doing stuff at the ranch all the time. Crystal's going to be here all of June.
Yay! I can't wait.
And then she gets to come back to Iowa in July. So yay.
Yeah. All of June in California and all of July in Iowa. And I'm going to be newly retired and changing careers. And so,
exactly.
Yeah.
The rest of your life.
Yes, I know.
So at the end of our episodes, we like to have a takeaways. So think about what kind of takeaways you'd like to share with our listeners. Anything that, you've said already or want to say new. And Robin and I will kind of start so that gives you a chance to think.
So Crystal's looking at me like, you get to go first. And I'm like, oh, so many things. I think the conversation around so many things, the positive-based reinforcement, how you choose to train very much depends on the dog you have, the games that you want to play with them, and your personal compass, which you talked about. And I'm delving into the bird dog world and I'm seeing a whole bunch of stuff I can't unsee, but I'm also seeing some really good stuff by the same people, right? And so making sure you're true to yourself and fair to the dog is the best thing that you can absolutely do. So and the leadership conversation, I'm going to have to go back and listen to it again, because the setting boundaries and being like, you're not listening to understand, I'm done, is really important.
Yeah, I've listened to that webinar several times. And I always get something new out of it every time. It's truly one of my favorite things because I don't revisit a lot of things because there's just so many more new things out there. But it's just new to me every time because I'm coming from a different point of view. And so I think one of the things that I've really taken away from conversations is to protect yourself. And that's something that I have to like hear that and think about it and internalize that more. Because when it talks about boundaries, and so that's been an important lesson that you've taught me is that I can say things and share things to protect myself. And so that's important. And that other piece of believing in yourself, I think that's how you empower the dogs. That's how you empower people, is that you teach them to believe in themselves. So I'm appreciative for those lessons.
I think what I would say is, especially if you're in the positive reinforcement-based world, move forward, go. Don't be afraid of errors. It's okay. Keep going. It's okay if you make errors on top of errors. Push forward. You can fix them or maybe learn more for the next dog. For the balance community, I would say it's the reverse. Slow down. Split things down. Be sure the pieces are well understood. Listen to the dog. Watch the dog. So the two communities, I think, are heading in opposite directions and need different sort of attention and prompts. And to everyone, believe in yourself. Say what you say. If you feel a truth, you speak your truth. Don't speak till you feel confident about why so that you can back yourself up. But you have the right to have a voice. You have the right to have a voice which is different than the next person's voice. And I think you'd be amazed at how often other people were already thinking the same thing you were. If you want a role of leadership in the industry, you have to take a risk and speak. If you can't speak up, you cannot move forward, leader. If you don't care, I don't care. But if it's something that's important to you, be aware of that and learn to speak in a way which is neutral. You say what you want to say. Everything can be said without being a complete asshole. You don't have to be an asshole. You can be as nice and kind as possible, and you can say what needs to be said if it needs to be said. So learn to do it. Your life will be better, and you might learn some really cool things. So I think that's the things that I'd want people to hold.
Good lessons. Thank you.
Yeah, that was lovely.
It was so fun. I guess we went for the longer.
We did. We so went for the longer version, which is fantastic, which means we'll probably have to do it again, right?
I would love to do it again. We have so much we can talk about.
We can. Cool. Okay. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. You can find all of Denise's contact information, everything in the show notes, and go train.
Canine Detection Collaborative.
We appreciate the time you spend with us. If you liked this episode, not only should you follow us so you don't miss the next one, but please also rate and review us in your favorite podcast app. For info on collaborating with us, go to k9detectioncollaborative.com. That's K9 detectioncollaborative.com, where you can find our socials and pick up our latest monthly freebie. Join us again to talk training in the next episode.